Hey, very quickly, we're going to get into it in a second, but I just want to quickly do an addendum to the story you're about to hear. So, we're going to talk about Elon Musk leaving and all of that shit. But this morning, Musk and Trump held a press conference where they said that everything is fine and everything is great and we're still friends and we're still going to have slumber parties and mommy and daddy aren't going to be completely apart all the time. And it's all bullshit. Like, it's the same. It's a lot of reactions to headlines that you've heard over the week, but there are multiple internal sources that are saying that this is not, that Musk is not in great favor with this administration. It kind of mirrors what happened with Steve Bannon, which I fucking said was going to happen. It's very similar to the Steve Bannon split, where he left and he was like, "Oh no, everything's okay. I'm still rooting." Right? I don't think Musk is going to be anti-Trump or anything like that, but I definitely think that his political use has become more of a detriment to this administration, and he's definitely not going to be as. I think most of what I'm saying is pretty much relevant still. So yeah, just wanted to mention that in case somebody goes, "Well, what about the press conference this morning?" I saw the press conference this morning. All right, so yeah, there you go. Enjoy.
After 5 pretty exhausting months, Elon Musk announced yesterday that he was leaving the Trump administration to go back to managing his previous companies at Tesla and, whatever the fuck this bird is now. Although Musk publicly thanked Trump while he was leaving, this comes at the heels of his criticism of Trump's big, beautiful bill, saying it's an affront to DOGE, and with Musk being privately frozen out of Trump's inner circle after a series of bruising political defeats. Hi, Wisconsin! And again, if you have been paying attention, like I fucking said, this is actually not that much of a surprise. I've mentioned it multiple times that Elon occupied the same space Steve Bannon did during the first Trump administration. And what took Bannon a year has taken Elon half the time. I want to talk about Elon today, even though I fucking hate covering his bullshit in the news all the time, because I think this moment is actually kind of a combination of all of the reputational cards he has played for over a decade plus completely collapsing in front of him. For so long, before his very public flip and crash outs, Elon Musk's work in electric cars and innovations in technology were lauded, right, as this progressive, realized future that would finally benefit everybody. Thank God we're finally moving forward. But his ego, his lack of any actual expertise in any of these fields, his insane political stances and hypocritical, obnoxious behavior led to a public destruction of his image with very little room to come back from. That's where we're at. And listen, I understand we all talk about Elon Musk as a fascistic figure after his fucking salute and his support of the AFD and all the other bullshit that he's either retweeted or co-signed or fucking tried to buy over the last 5 years. But I'm actually going to have a bit of a hot take here when I tell you Elon Musk's engagement in fascistic behavior, I feel, is more of a symptom of his narcissism versus the actual cause and root of it. So let's talk about Elon Musk, why he fucked up, why he absolutely deserves to get blackballed here, and how we can avoid grifters like him in the future. And let's start with this, right? I'm not going to bury the lead for the problem with this guy. Elon Musk thinks he's Steve Jobs. Period. He thinks he's Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is known as one of the most transformative figures of the 20th century, a monumental innovator who changed the world and technology and culture and the way we pursue art and the way we talk with each other. He is one of the fathers of just literally society today. Steve Jobs was also an incredible asshole. Like, I cannot stress this enough. One of Steve Jobs' trademarks as a person was that he was a massive dick. And amongst the many redemption arcs which he tried to take, he usually admitted some semblance of, yeah, I'm kind of a dick. Not on everything though, some stuff he just never copped to. But the mythology around Steve Jobs, especially with his profound impact, was that his uncompromising nature was a feature and not a bug. I mean, listen, he was jettisoned by a company he founded, left and forgotten, and built his way all the way back up to retake Apple and pretty much create the majority of everything. today, right? The majority of technological culture our society operates on was created by Steve Jobs. Not just the bad stuff we give shit about, but also a lot of the important good stuff too. But here's the fucking problem, right? Steve knew to some degree how much of an asshole he was, right? And he was uncompromising because of what he wanted the vision to be. That doesn't excuse him yelling at employees or being a shit to his daughter for the first half of her life, but it explains what his focus truly was and where his focus lied. His focus was on the goal of transforming something and creating something impactful for society, right? And that is also why Elon Musk is not fucking Steve Jobs. Elon Musk is an ego whore, all right? Forget writing him off for just the diamond mine shit and all that other stuff, right? Okay? Look at what he actually does well and then tries to bait and switch you on to make you think, actually, I'm a genius. I know about this, so I must be an expert on all of this as well because I'm genius carries over everywhere. One of the biggest touch points of where Musk built up his prominence was in the movie Whatever Happened to the Electric Car. This was at the time a fascinating, brilliant documentary about the electric car before the world that we have now. It basically talked about how the innovation of the electric car was fucked out of the market to serve the needs of oil companies and big interests. And at the center of that movie is a young, plucky upstart still trying to make electric cars happen, this ugly bitch. This documentary is very reverent of Musk, not in like a worshiping way, but in that, you know, guys, actually, there are some heroes in the world. And after watching this documentary, you would think that, oh, Elon Musk is one of the good ones, fighting the big capitalistic corporations and billionaires to bring us an innovation that we really need, that other people just don't want us to have. But also, Elon Musk is a big capitalistic corporation guy who was also a billionaire who thus since then has stopped things that we really need. His work with Tesla was very deliberate. He weaved in a way to say that he founded the company when he fucking didn't. He was literally just somebody who came in and boosted it heavily with investment, right, and business strategy. In hindsight, especially with everything Musk has done over the last 5 years, this documentary has not aged well. But I will say again, because I don't want to shy away from uncomfortable truths, even though an asshole is at the center of them, the chance for electric cars, right, to really prosper and be a thing, right? The progression of like solar and a lot of these other alternative energy sources, right, would not have happened at the rate or to the prominence that they have happened without Elon Musk. All right. A lot of our space programs would be in a fundamentally much worse place without him as well. But that does not mean he is an altruistic savior of those technologies. That also doesn't mean that he hasn't damaged, right, a lot of the progress on those technologies when it suited him. Musk is a brand guy, a strong capitalistic arm and investor in business development. There was a world almost a decade ago where you could make the case of what he was doing to be a positive good towards progressive change, right? Which was our world up until 5 years ago when he showed his fucking hand to everyone. Elon Musk frequently doesn't understand the specifics of the innovations his companies keep working on. If you own a Tesla or know somebody who has owned a Tesla, you're probably already used to Elon Musk getting taken with an idea and doubling and tripling down, even though people are unsure about it. And then when it finally comes out, he underdelivers. The Cybertruck is the obvious example, but also autonomous driving. Tesla's autopilot is already behind multiple other systems like the Comma 3 and OpenPilot. Even more so than that, the Teslas also have build quality issues because Elon wants to push more off the line. And sometimes the build quality or the autopilot itself make the car a little bit more dangerous despite the car actually having a pretty good safety rating because Elon pushes for benchmarks that Teslas aren't perfect at to just go the fuck out. Also, Twitter. All right, listen, we could talk endlessly about how much of an ass Elon was on Twitter and what he fucked up with. But the primary issue is there are a litany of experts who understand this platform, who are hired for hundreds of thousands of dollars by major Mang companies, right? To work on Twitter, to do shit for Twitter, whose commerce relies on Twitter. And Elon doesn't know any of that shit and threw them out. There's public information on what Twitter needed to do right before Elon bought it, right? To really compete with the emerging social media platforms. And instead, Elon picked this motherfucker up, right? And made it a partisan hunting ground to the point where he fucking built his own competitors. Right? He grew Threads and Blue Sky just by being so fucking insufferable. It's like if you cooed a country and then handed out rocket launchers to the standing army outside your gates who dislikes you. But to Elon, giant strokes and overworking employees and being in front of your company is how you innovate. It's what Tesla did. It's what Steve Jobs did. But again, Elon didn't give a fuck about Twitter, as evidenced by him trying to back out of the sale after he said he could fix it and shit, right? He just wanted his genius and his contributions to be what fixed it. Do you understand? It's not the result and the solve that he wants. He wants his genius being the thing that manifests and solves it. Do you understand? And that was the problem with Doge. There's a lot of problems with Doge, but specifically his fucking Achilles heel in this administration of egomaniacs. Musk really wanted the world to listen to him because he really did sniff the glue that made him think being a true genius means making the hard, uncompromising decisions and having like 11,000 kids and then like not taking care of them unless they look good for photo ops. In his head, he's Einstein. And I don't know if you know this, but Einstein didn't walk the fuck around going like, hey guys, I'm Einstein. All right? Throw the roses here. And especially when it comes to government work and public perception, something Trump found out about in his first term the hard way, the more you do, the more people freak the fuck out when you just go blah. And so as much as he tried to insulate and hope that his partisans and fucking fanboys would carry him over the line, as much as he tried to ignore the fact that Trump shivved other people like Elon who were in his orbit, and as much as he tried to buy a fucking court election, Musk could not Steve Jobs his way out of this because Steve Jobs wouldn't fucking do this. I'm not trying to worship Steve Jobs here, but I'm just trying to illustrate the fundamental difference, right? To somebody who's an asshole and a genius working towards a vision and somebody who is an asshole and a genius working towards being seen as a fucking genius. And the landscape Elon is returning to is not happy with him either. Tesla is not the premier electric car brand anymore. There are far more competitive models on the market. The brand is toxic. Tesla has opened up superchargers to other vehicles, something Musk resisted for the longest time. And a man who courted literally every corner of both the progressive niche and the fascistic niche to brand himself as the future pro-human visionary, finds himself seen as uncompromising as Steve Jobs, but not the genius he wanted everybody to fucking praise him being. I don't think it's fair, though, to be honest, to paint with a broad brush all people who try to seek any sort of innovation as like these grifters who are Musk-like. Not all of them are like Musk. He's a specific type. There are people who have operational efficiency that Musk doesn't have. And yes, there are also people who are just as deluded as this fucking guy. But if there is one thing that we can take away from this, it's that details matter. Just because you built the electric car or bought the ability to say that you did doesn't mean you can run a social media company or a space outfit. And just because you can throw money at something doesn't mean you came up with the idea. That doesn't make you Tesla, it makes you Edison. And his legacy ain't doing too well either these days. Let me know what you think in the comments. And very quickly before I go, I gotta mention Nathan Fielder and the FAA. The latest season of Nathan Fielder's show, The Rehearsal, has been getting a lot of eyeballs and attention on it. If you haven't seen or heard of The Rehearsal, it was this massive hit a few years ago when the first season dropped. And the main conceit of the show originally was Fielder using the crazy budget of HBO or Max or whatever the fuck you want to call it these days, David Zaslav, right? To stage elaborate rehearsals for what would be tense real life situations. So like having to tell somebody some uncomfortable news, he'd hire an actor to play the person and then rehearse that interaction so that he was prepared for it when it happened. At one point, he wanted to rehearse an interaction he'd have in like an acting class, and so he fucking hired a bunch of people to play the students in the it's fucking crazy. Well, the second season, which I didn't really expect to be honest, premiered a few months ago, and it was a little bit different than people were expecting because suddenly this show became about airline safety. The second season's premise, and spoiler alert if you have not seen it at all, okay? The premise is that Fielder is now exploring the reason behind commercial airline crashes, and he theorizes the reason that it's happening. The person whose job it is to assist in the cockpit, aka the co-pilot, has not been trained strenuously enough to object to improper behavior from the pilot. He lists out and recreates multiple real-life crashes from black box recordings in the first episode where the pilot is clearly doing something wrong or improper and the co-pilot refuses to speak up because it would make the situation awkward, because they aren't trained to strenuously object. Not enough, at least. He consults multiple experts. He stages elaborate rehearsals. He calls Paramount Plus a bunch of Nazis. And look, the final episode just aired, and listen, again, spoilers. You may have been spoiled like I have looking on TikTok this week, but listen, spoilers ahead of time, all right? The big twist at the end of this season is that Nathan Fielder became a commercial fucking airline pilot. That last episode of the season has him flying a 747 filled with passengers to solidify his theory about commercial aviation. It is a fucking crazy episode and puts a lot of pressure on the FAA, who ended up responding to Fielder.
Really, there's concern. You lay it out in the show. We reached out to the FAA to see what it had to say about all of this. And it told us that it mandates all airline pilots and crew members to complete interpersonal communication training. And it says it isn't seeing the data that supports the show's central claim that pilot communications is to blame for airline disasters.
Well,
so I want to get you to respond to that, obviously.
That's dumb. They're dumb. And here's the issue is that they do, like I trained to be a pilot and I'm a 737 pilot. I went through the training. The training is someone shows you a PowerPoint slide saying, if you are a co-pilot and the captain does something wrong, you need to speak up about it. That's all. That's the training. And they talk about some crashes that happened, but they don't do anything that makes it stick emotionally.
That is fucking wild, dude. And here's the thing, especially with what's happened over the last few years, even if this story somewhat dies down, it does not go away. The fact that this is an entertainment series and Fielder has a fairly enthusiastic fan base due to his comedy, and the fact that it's unprecedented that he went to this level to get this shit done, this becomes a running long-term source of pressure through narrative for the FAA. And fucking good. Look, this isn't the kind of thing, especially with people who want to paper over guidelines, that's going to change overnight. Mainly because of the assholes who want to paper over guidelines and didn't think, oh, actually, maybe we could fix some stuff and do better at this, and instead want to dispute any evidence that's fucking clearly presented. But from pieces like this that have also aired on HBO or Max or David Zaslav's fucking streaming emporium or whatever the fuck he's doing, right? From those pieces, you've gotten convictions for murders, you've gotten exonerations for wrongfully convicted individuals, you've gotten re-examinings or reopenings of cases, and hopefully, with the splash this is making, you will have pressure on the airlines who already are getting a ton of shit to actually do the work and train these pilots. And apparently it's already gone crazy over on pilot TikTok. And if pilots themselves are reading into the situation and identifying with it, maybe they'll have more of a gumption to speak up in the cockpit and actually save some fucking lives. I think the series is a great example of this is not the magic bullet that will solve everything, but it is a big enough swing to make a dent, and the dent only grows bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes on, whether or not the FAA wants it to. If you haven't watched the rehearsal, even if I'm spoiling it, go check it out. I'm going to watch all of season 2. I haven't even seen all of it, but I'm really looking forward to it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And that's our show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. We'll be back here on Sunday to freestyle the news. Go check out Go for Lethal while you're at it. Anyway, my name is Tabani. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all soon. Let's go.